All right, we are recording. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for coming to our annual resume building workshop. Webinar. It's our first annual webinar, but we do resume building every year in home base. For those of you that have been around long enough to remember that, if this is your first time joining us, this is something that we do every year to help you stay on track with your stuff. And I'm gonna just let me cover the learning targets. Obviously, you're gonna be able to work on or continue or build a resume. But here's the deal. The reason that we do this is we survey our seniors every year when they graduate. And this is one of the ones that they tell us is super helpful, one of the most helpful things they do. Because when you're a senior, it's hard to remember everything that you've done throughout high school. So keeping track of it every year is really helpful. Keeping an ongoing tab of the things that you've done throughout the years is really helpful, so that when you're filling out college applications, when you're filling out job applications or scholarships or whatever it is you're doing, you're like, oh, wait, what did I do again? You just go to your resume and it's all sitting right there for you. So we provide an opportunity every year for you to do that. Now, a resume it's a document that sums up skills, experiences, accomplishments, anything you want to put in it. And it's typically used for employment purposes. Typically, employers like to see a resume which shows a list of your work experiences, but it's more than that. And for you especially, it's a place to house all of the things that you've done and all the skills that you've developed through school. And so when you're applying for jobs or filling out applications or whatever it is you're doing, you've got it all in one spot. It makes your life super easy. So again, seniors tell us they're really grateful that they did this every year, because again, as a senior, you can't remember what you did in ninth grade. So this is it. It's a life skill, something you're going to keep a resume for the rest of your life. And so you might as well start now and get some of the skills down. It is awfully hard to remember things over time. So it's really nice to just keep your resume up to date. And again, we've talked about it, colleges, scholarships, jobs, all that sort of stuff. But the other really helpful thing is that last bullet down there. When you're working through your resume, you'll see categories and you're like, I don't have anything in that category. Does that mean I should maybe look for opportunities within that area? It might, maybe you don't have a lot of volunteer experience, or you don't have a lot of skill experience in a particular area. Maybe that's an indication that you should set that as a goal for yourself in the next year or two to try to build that up and add that skill set to your resume. So it's a really valuable process to do a resume. So here's how we do it. We help you with it in Naviance. So you're going to go to the CHS. Now listen, you don't have to do this right now. In fact, unless you're a regular Naviance user, probably best not to, because you're going to get jammed up trying to get into Naviance, and then you're going to lose track of what we're talking about. So unless you're regularly in Naviance and you're successful at logging in, just let it go for now. Just stick with us. We'll take you through it. And then this will be posted so you can go back and review the PowerPoint and the video if you want to. But you go to the CHS website, you click on counseling, and over there on the left is the Naviance bar. So you click on that and you sign in. Remember that your username is your CHS email. Your password, probably, if you haven't been in there in a while, is probably like gold and some numbers or whatever, something left over from the middle school. But Naviance has upgraded their security, so they are going to make you change your password. And so that's probably the first thing that's going to happen to you, unless you've already done that. And don't get super click happy. If you don't get in the first time, don't be like click, and try a billion different passwords, because it's going to lock you out. And then you're going to have to come to us and we're going to be like, yeah, you got to wait 24 hours and then we'll try to help you get back in. So if you try a password that you think is right and you get nothing, do the forgot password thing. And then hopefully everything will go well and you can get right back into Naviance. Once you get in, on the top right, you're going to go to About Me. You click on About Me, and this is, again, for those of you that have been there fairly recently, it looks like this. And you click on the About Me tab, and then you go to My Stuff. And then under My Stuff, it says Resume. So click on Resume. And once you do that, it will take you to this section right here. Now, there's that pink plus sign that sits there, and that's how you add items to your resume. So you're in the Add Update Sections part, and you click on the plus sign, and it gives you a lot of areas. You look at all this stuff here that you can do: objectives, summary, work experience, education. All of those are all areas that you can add to your resume. Now, we focus on the education. And for those of you that have been at CHS for a little bit, you've done this with us before, and you'll want to go in and update your education. So remember, if you did this in grade 9 and maybe you haven't touched it since grade 9, it still says grade 9 in there. So make sure that you update it to your current grade level. Make sure that's, if you've transferred in, you might have to put a couple of schools in there. So just make sure you keep your education up to date. And it gives you, again, this is one of those things where we talked about, like, maybe there's an area that I don't have coverage in, and maybe this is something I should be looking at for the future. So you're going to pick something from there. So again, first thing we want you to do, update your education, make sure you're in the current grade level. And then after that, you're going to come back and you're going to add some stuff. And maybe it's volunteer experience, maybe it's work experience, but you're going to add to one of the areas. And for example, I've got one here, and Naviance throws all these tips out at you, right? And so the important thing about your resume is, one of the tips is being concise. You don't want to be super wordy as you're adding information to your resume. So here we put childcare, organization, you do it for a private family, and then we have some dates in there. The other thing it's going to ask you, and you can't see it on the screen, is it's going to say hours per week or total hours. You don't do both, you do one or the other. And it depends on the thing that you do. If it's a regular gig, like if it's a job that you work, you're definitely going to put hours per week, right? And maybe even childcare. If you babysit, once a week, then you're going to put that down as hours per week. If it's something that you did, like a volunteer experience, like I volunteered at the Cots Walk or the Burlington City Marathon, well, that's a total hours thing. It wasn't an hours per week. It was a one-shot deal, and you just did an event and you worked for X number of hours. Do total hours. So it's either or, either hours per week or total hours. And it depends on the thing. If it's ongoing and regular, it's hours per week. If it was a one-off, then do total hours. So you're going to add that in, and you're going to be concise about it, right? So short little snippets. So you're going to make it concise, what you did, like here's some examples of there. Organize records into an online database, right? Super easy. Consistently sold more than a monthly quota. Tutored students in math, and increased they increased their scores by an average of 200 points, whatever it is. Just short little bullet points to be descriptive, but not overly wordy. Cool? Okay, and you can do less tips, but the more tips, they are helpful. So here's you can see down here see, it was hours per week or total hours. So in my childcare experience, I averaged 5 hours a week doing childcare, and I did my grades, and then I did my little snippets in there. Childcare for 2 kids after school, helped them with homework, prepared their dinner, whatever it was, right? And then once you're done, click add, and it drops it into your resume. Done.
And Mr. Hall, so like this is for, if you were doing like babysitting, but also if any of you are responsible for like childcare at home, even for like younger siblings, like you can definitely put that in, because there's a skill set involved with that too. So that also can go in as well.
That's a really great point. And the thing to remember right now is, for a lot of you, you're saying like, well, I don't have anything. Well, you probably have more than you think you do. Okay, so if you are a regular, if you have household chores that you have to do regularly, that's a good thing. If you rake leaves for your neighbor, right? Or you shovel snow for your neighbor. Like, let's say you've got an elderly neighbor and they can't do it themselves. So you're just a good person and you go and you do that for them. Well, that's something you put on your resume, right? It's volunteer work, but it's a nice thing to do. And it also shows responsibility. It shows consistency. It's a good thing to throw on there. Even Ms. Pastore and I were talking about this before you all logged on. Hobbies can be really good things to put on your resume, right? Especially if it's something that you've done for a period of time and you invest a lot of time in it. And it can be anything from model railroading to, I like to build my own computers. Like, it doesn't have to be something epic that you think applies to the particular job. Even a hobby shows consistency and commitment to something. And that is a good thing that you want to be able to show to employers. So think through everything that you do, and it matters, So we were joking around about, like, well, I play video games for about 1,000 hours a week. Like, well, maybe, that may or may not, depends on what, that one kind of depends on what you're looking for do. I don't think McDonald's is going to care that you video game for 1,000 hours a week, right? But certain things really do show job related skills. And the other thing to remember is, some of you, like when you're applying for a job, you don't have actual work experience, but remember, volunteer experience is as good as work experience. It shows that you have to be responsible. It shows consistency. It shows commitment. These are all skill sets that employers are looking for. So volunteer work is as good as employment when you're applying for your first job. So all of the stuff matters. And there you go. So again, there's just an example of what one looks like once you add it to your resume. So you just click add, and there it is. Provided childcare for 2 kids, made them dinner, helped them organize, did some activities for them. This is all good stuff, right? Even if it's not paid, right? Even if you just have to do it because it's the nice thing to do, right? So all the activities that you do, maybe at your church you do Sunday school and that's just a volunteer thing. Okay, well, if that's a pretty regular gig that shows responsibility, shows commitment, again, think about all that stuff. You can hear the recurring theme, right? Responsibility, commitment, consistency, all this stuff is what matters. Okay, and then you get all your stuff in and you save it. So you got your volunteer stuff, you got your work stuff, you got your education, and once everything is in there, click save, and you are good to go.
And then the cool part is that you have the option to afterwards print your resume. So, and that way you can take it to a job interview if you want to, super impressive when you do, or you can print it up and then have it when you're filling out a job application so you don't forget certain things to put on a job application. When later on for colleges, same things, you can print it up if you want a hard copy. And so what you do is you'll hit the plus sign here and you hit the print export and then you hit the plus. And it will give you can name your resume and pick a template. So the coolest part is you can actually pick and choose what you want on your resume. So if you're applying to a certain job that maybe you want to try to work on cars, for example, like you can go ahead and maybe put things that are tailored towards that. Or if you're doing if you want to apply for a counselor at the Parks and Rec, you can potentially customize your resume to that. And usually that'll be later on when you're customizing, when you have more on there, but it really gives you a chance to kind of name several different resumes if you want to, and tailor them however you want. You'll name your resume and then you'll pick a template and you can look, there's like 3 different types of templates you can choose from. And then you'll download a PDF of your resume. So you can access your saved resume here whenever you're looking for the job or applying to college or ever need it at all. And actually, when a lot of you are applying to colleges, most colleges will give an option to actually upload your resume when you're applying, which is really cool. So, and you'll have one already done and ready to go. So again, download PDF if you wanted to get a copy. And that is an example of what your resume is going to look like. So it'll break it down by the parts that you did. It'll list it here in a really concise format. And it's a great way for a one-shot deal to be able to see everything that you've done. Super awesome.
And this is just one of the templates. It'll look visually different depending on which template you choose.
Cool. And then, you don't have to wait for AT to update your resume. So I would say anytime if you get an award for something, if you get a new job, if you do a volunteer activity, whatever, go back onto here and just keep updating regularly. And really, resume building is a continuous process. And we even as adults are doing it now. Later on in life, if you ever have to apply for a job, or if sometimes places will just need that from you. And using Naviance to keep track of all the fabulous things that you've accomplished and will continue to do. So again, this is an ongoing document for you to keep track of everything. And that is it. So, and we are always here to help you with this. And so if you do try to get onto Naviance and you're struggling or you're having a tough time, like I said, don't go click happy with that, but you may have to reset your password. But if you still have trouble, or if you just want to pass things by us and be like, should I put this on, or how can I word this, or whatever, we are more than happy to help you out. We love doing that with students. So feel free to reach out to us and we'd be happy to work with you on this.
Yep. If you're not sure what to put on, great. We can does this sound like it should go on my resume? that's a great question for us. And I know that some of you are going to have issues getting into Naviance, so definitely check in with us before you get down that down that rabbit hole. So we're happy to help you get into Naviance if you run into any trouble. Thanks for coming today, folks, and we'll look forward to talking to you soon.
Great.
Keep
Take care,
those
everyone.
resumes cranking.